ever wondered, can you communicate directly with spirit guides, teachers, or non-physical consciousness, or even our higher selves? What would they tell us? My name is Kevin Moore, and since 2015, I started to practice a form of communication which is termed channeling. I have been interviewing experts on my talk show to find out, does life continue after we die, and can we communicate with those that have crossed over? With each expert I spoke to, they all had different ideas. Is there knowledge from the past which could be shared with the present moment? So I thought, why not just speak to the non-physical world directly through channelers around the world? And that's what I set out to do. They Call Us Channelers will take the viewers on a journey into the phenomena known as channeling. And my main goal with this docuseries is to bring a new understanding and awareness to channeling by looking within ourselves and asking, is it truly possible that we can all use this innate ability?
My name is Charmian Redwood, and I am a channel, I am a hypnotherapist, and I teach online classes for both self-empowerment and teaching people how to channel, how to receive messages.
Childhood, I always found that fascinating to ask people that. Was there anything different about your childhood in a sense of voices?
I was a very sensitive child. I was extremely quiet, very, very shy. And I've had a real strong feeling that I don't belong here. I would watch people being mean, shouting, being cruel, and I'd think, who are these people and how did I get here? And then I would go into the garden and I would talk to the flower fairies, and then they would make me feel better, and I felt that was where I belonged, like these humans. I'm not sure about this.
And was there any gifts on any of the other members in the family? Was you an only child?
No, not my immediate family, but my grandmother was a traditional medium, and I didn't know this until I was much older, and she read the tea leaves, and her children thought she was completely nuts, but I inherited the gift from her.
And in her lifetime, did you get to tell her that you had this gift?
Oh no, not at all. She died when I was 8, and I don't have any memories of her very much. But when I started going to a spiritualist church, when I started opening up, she was one of the first people that came through and offered to be my guide, to help me to develop.
So let's move this forward then. So what kind of career did you take up, and when did those voices kind of get subdued a bit within your sort of early 20s, or did they?
Not get subdued, but I always felt disconnected. Like I know that love is the truth of everything, and I never experienced it through any religion, but I knew that it's what we're here for and who we are. So I always tried to help people and make them feel better. I think more than anything at that time I was an empath. I felt everybody's pain and I just wanted to help them. So I did whatever people needed. I just felt what they needed, and I gave it to them without them having to ask.
And what career where was your career at that time?
Oh, I was a school teacher. I was teaching kindergarten, little children. Absolutely loved it. I felt more at home with them than with the grown-ups, because they were very open and we could talk about fairies and tree spirits and that kind of thing.
Where did you do your training for the kindergarten?
I went to a college in Durham and did the 3 to 8 year old school teacher training.
What was early 20s like for you?
Well, I was a real idealist. I wanted a better world, and at that time I thought I knew exactly how to do that. So I was protesting, marching, and taking petitions around. At that time it was the anti-nuclear, and I thought that's how you would bring peace to the earth. And then I realized that that's not really the way to go about it, that you have to live peace and then peace will come to the earth. So I kind of stopped a lot of that, because a lot of the people who were marching were doing it from a place of anger, and they just wanted to harass the police, and I didn't feel that I wanted to put my energy into feeding that.
Were there any sort of books that you were reading at the time that were metaphysical?
No, not at all. I really was not awake until I was 29. And then I had my near-death experience, and that literally woke me up overnight.
So at 29, were you still with the same job, working with the school?
Oh, yeah. I was a school teacher. Very happy doing that, yeah. I was a really normal person, not spiritual, unconscious in terms of knowing what a spiritual path was. I had no interest or had no connection, hadn't experienced it at all. I was just being a real normal person, being a teacher, having nice holidays and playing darts in the pub quite a lot. That's what we do in England.
If you had a message to give your younger self right now, what would it be?
Just trust. Just do the best that you can and trust that everything is working out for you. You see, I didn't know then what was going to happen to me, and I'm very glad that it did happen, the near-death experience, but you could never plan for anything like that. So everything is just written in our story before we come in. So I would just say to people, trust for it to unroll and to reveal itself, and you don't have to strive and struggle to make things happen. You just wait for it all to unfold.
But you have to have, if you would have a goal, a passion, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, my nature has always just been service, to help people. So that's what I was doing. I went into teaching because I love little children, and I hated every minute of my schooling. And I just knew that this is not the way that we're supposed to be teaching our children, that they need to be having fun and exploring a much wider curriculum than just the reading and the writing and the arithmetic. So that's why I went into teaching.
Absolutely. So take us to 29 then. I mean, what was going on? What happened? Why did the near-death experience occur?
Well, I was having my twins. I gave birth to twins, and basically everything that could go wrong did go wrong from the beginning to the end. So I was given an epidural, but the anesthesiologist was on his way home. He was putting his coat on, and they called him back in and said, "You've got one more to do." And he kind of rolled his eyes and went, "Oh no." So he put the epidural in, but there's a tube that they put in so they can add more when it's wearing off. And he didn't notice when he taped it that it was kinked over. So when they had to put more in, it all shot out. It didn't go in. So I had really an unmedicated birth. But the young man who was delivering them was an intern who should never have been given a twin birth, he really didn't know what he was doing. So I had an episiotomy, which is a cut where they cut the birth canal. He thought I was anaesthetized, and I wasn't. it was serious. So then he got the forceps and he pulled Jenny out, and I was not ready. They'd given me too much of the Pitocin that speeds up labour, because one of the women was bored and she wanted to go home, so she turned it up from 3 to 15, which speeded up the birth, so my body wasn't ready. He pulled the baby out and I tore all the way down, but he didn't see all the tears. He only saw 2 and there were 3. So the third one, he didn't stitch it, and it filled up with blood, which then got infected. So after 10 days of going home and being extremely sick, I was rushed back to the hospital. And that's when I had the experience of floating up out of my body, and all of my consciousness, everything that was me, was out there, and nothing of me was in the body. And I'm going, wow, that's just a shell, that's just the house that I am living in. It was very easy to leave the body. It wasn't difficult at all. I knew that wherever I was going, it was into peace and love, and there were angels there. So I just floated away, and the next minute I'm in this, it's very hard to put into words. It was an ocean of golden light. That was all the love that you could imagine was in that ocean. And I was just floating like this being of light in an ocean of light. And as soon as I got there, I knew, this is who I am, this is where I came from, this is real, this is where I want to be. And everything down there that body is running about doing, thinking that it's real, is just a story that I am making up. So it was hard to put into words. It was just everything. It being in that light was everything. I understood then what the term "all that is" meant. So the next minute, I'm floating about in bliss, and the next minute, this beautiful bright being appeared in front of me. He was all a body of white light, and his heart was this blazing blue star. And I just knew it was Jesus. And I was not a Christian. I'd been to the Methodist church, but I'd never really had an experience that was remarkable. So I didn't really have a religion. And we just had this conversation telepathically, and I'm going, I'm not one of yours. I think you got the wrong person here. I'm not a Christian. And why are you talking to me? And he just looked at me with unconditional love, acceptance and forgiveness of everything that I am, everything that I had done. He just loved it. He just loved me unconditionally. And I'd never experienced that before. So we had this conversation in my head, and he said, because your heart is pure, if you want to, you can stay with us in the golden light. But we're asking you to go back because the world needs your love, your wisdom, and your healing. Well, at the time, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know I had any wisdom or healing. I knew nothing about healing. So I said, how can I go back down there knowing that this is where I belong with you? So what he did was he just took a piece of his blue star from his heart and he put it into my heart. And he said, now you will know that I am always with you. So as soon as he did that, the next minute I'm floating over that body again in the hospital bed that felt completely alien, separate from me. And I knew that if I got back into that body, I would take on suffering. if I stayed out with them in the golden light, I would never suffer again. I can't say that I came back to save humanity. Honestly, I came back for my babies. I'd had 2 babies, they were 10 days old, little boy, little girl, and there was no way I was going to leave them without a mother. So I came back for them. And then when I came awake, everything that I had done with my life up until then was completely meaningless. The career, my life plan, buying the house, everything, utterly meaningless, because there was no me anymore. There was nothing for me to do with my life except give it to God. And I never had a concept of God before that. I would have called it absolute truth or absolute love, more along the lines of Plato. But when I was in the light, I absolutely knew that there is a plan for this earth. And at the time I didn't know what it was, but now I do. And I just said, wherever you need me to be, I will go, because I want to do anything that I can do to make sure that this plan works the way that it should do.
What happened to your relationship at that time then?
Oh, that wasn't the good news. My husband, obviously nothing had happened to him, but I was not the person that I was when I left. Literally, the person that I was when I went into the hospital was not the person that came out of the hospital. So I just started taking all these classes: yoga, meditation, healing, flower essences, astrology, because I wanted to get back to that place, and I wanted to I didn't really understand what had happened to me. So I was on this quest then to discover myself spiritually, and of course he didn't have that experience. And he felt very threatened, because he was definitely the master and I was the servant, and I was escaping. I didn't want to be controlled anymore. So it ended in divorce. We ended up getting divorced.
Have you ever spoke to him since?
Oh yes, I don't hold any. Everything that happens for a reason. We had a contract to bring in the children that we did, and we've done that. So love him, bless him, forgiving, move on. There's no point holding on to old stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. It must be so amazing sometimes just to think of the 29-year-old that was and the person that you are now.
Oh yeah, it was over half of my life away. And I am so glad that it happened to me when it did, because now I've had most of my life living from this other place. So I ended up getting very disillusioned with teaching, because I wanted to teach people about who they are as beings. And this was way back in the 70s. And I actually, when I was teaching, I was doing meditation and taking them on journeys and to meet angels and power animals and growing gardens and walking on the beach, but it was very restricted. So I gradually became disillusioned, and I just felt that I wanted people to have the experience that I had had of meeting myself as essence without having to die, because that was all a bit dramatic. So I developed this system that I call divine self realignment hypnotherapy. So we use hypnosis, the tools of hypnosis, to put the conscious mind to sleep and to take people to actually experience themselves in that golden light as an unlimited being, and to experience the consciousness that they have as that being. And it really changes people's lives when they realize how powerful they are, how creative they are, and how much love they are. And then they bring that down, and we use that energy to remove the blocks, and then look at, now I've connected to my real self, how is that going to show up in my life? So then we look forward to see how that might unfold. So really that has been my work for the last 30 years, is using that tool to help people to awaken to the truth and to empower them to be sovereign beings.
So the regression, you've been using that tool for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
What got you into regression?
Well, I started, first thing I found just spontaneously, I could do healing by laying on hands. So somebody near me was sick and had a pain in their stomach, and I knew that if I put my hand on it, it would go away, and I did. So I put my hand on it, shut up my arm, and it went away. So I started doing healing on people. And then I just started talking to them. And in the beginning, it was regression, going into past lives, but I found that people were getting so traumatized by re-experiencing being put to death or losing a child or losing a leg or something like that. So I said, no, I need a different way. So then I started guiding people to experience their whole, complete and perfect self as a fully conscious divine being, and then using that energy of the healed self to simply remove all of that trauma from the body without having to go into every gory detail of all the nasties that have been inflicted upon us. So it was just a gradual process. I didn't train for it. I just started doing it.
But when did you must have heard about regression, you must have heard of, before, there must have...
Oh, I remember a friend of mine was doing a class as a hypnotherapist. She used me as one of her test cases. And as soon as she started, I just went on this whole journey and just kind of did it. And then I thought, I know how to do this. I've done this before. I remember doing this. So then I just started doing it myself.
Do you think you were doing it in a past life?
Oh, definitely. I remember doing it in Egypt. I remember doing it in Atlantis and Greece, other cultures, other civilizations.
Wow.
Yeah, just using guided imagery to help people to connect to their essence. I know we did it in Egypt, in the temples.
But your work now involves channeling as well.
Well, the other part of when I came back, I offered myself as a vessel for the beings to come to the earth if I was in any way able to help. And the way it's worked out, obviously I have had a connection to Master Jesus from the time that I came back. And then a couple of years later, I had a very powerful encounter with Mother Mary. It was at a shrine in Norfolk in England where I was living then. It's called Our Lady of Walsingham. And there's a holy well there. And it's very similar to Lourdes, but it's not as well known. And I was terribly heartbroken. I'd been in a relationship that just ended. I was just heartbroken. So I went to they have a reconstruction of the stable. It's like a stone stable in the church, in the Anglican church. And I just went and lay down on the floor in this little room, and I was just prostrate with grief. And Mother Mary just came in, and she stood by me, and she had this piece of like blue silk, and she just laid it over my whole body. And I just went into peace, and I never thought I would ever feel peace again. I was so heartbroken. And so since then, she has been with me. And then it was in, let me think now, 1992, I was in Glastonbury in England, living there then, and I was doing a group. My friend was bringing sacred tours, Americans, Australians to England, and I was in the Abbey And I just stood up to speak to them, and Mother Mary spoke through me, and it was a complete surprise to me. It's not what I thought I was going to be doing. I thought I was just going to be welcoming them to Glastonbury. But it turned out that she wanted to speak to them. So ever since then, she uses me to speak to people that she is connected with and wants them to know, I am with you, I am your mother, and I am with you, and I love you.
And that's a form of channeling.
Oh yes, I channel Lord Melchizedek, the archangels, Metatron, Saint Germain, Babaji, Yogananda, and often it's people that I don't feel really connected with, master beings, that the client or the person I'm channeling for is connected with, and then they will speak through me.
How much practice did you give yourself with this?
Let's see now. I went to a spiritualist church for about a year, but that was more getting messages. We would do the meditation, get the message, and then we would share them afterwards. So we weren't really channeling in the moment. So it just started, I know what it was. I was living in Norfolk, and this man was living in my house, and he was running a meditation group there. He was a sannyasin, and he'd been in India, and he was very familiar with meditation, and I didn't even know what meditation was. So he really helped me to open up to a lot of the spiritual modalities. And he left, and all these people were coming every week, so I just took over the group. And first I started just receiving guided imagery for the meditation, but then I found that beings would come through and start speaking, and so it was kind of a mixture of both. They would come through, but then quite often they would take people on some kind of a journey to one of the temples of light in the other dimensions to receive an activation. So my work is very much about activations, not always about information, but taking people to a place that they can have their frequency activated and their light codes activated. Because they really need us to wake up and be who we are. This is the message that we are all such enormous beings. We have prepared not just lifetimes on the earth, but for thousands of millennia out of time. Before we came to earth, we have trained, we have prepared to do what we came here to do. So, don't worry that, oh, I don't know how to help, I don't know what to do. It's just a matter of going inside and asking your inner self, what do you want me to do? And so that's why I use hypnotherapy, because I find 95% of people are successful at receiving messages and information for themselves by going within, by doing, rather than doing readings for people or channeling for people. I personally like to focus on helping them, facilitating them to receive their own information, because then it's empowering for them. I don't need to be empowered by them. I need to help them to empower themselves.
So, okay, and you do that by the regression and the mixed with the channeling.
And the classes that I teach, what happens is a group of people will come together, which is always a soul group that knows each other, that have served together in the great temples of Atlantis, Lemuria, Greece, Egypt, Mayan. And we've all come together in this life to help each other remember. So what we do is we go on a journey each class to a different dimension or a different memory on the earth plane, and we collect all these multidimensional aspects of ourselves as the priestess of Isis or a priest of Atlantis, and then we all speak as that person from that place and bring forward the wisdom that we had at that time. Bring it into this body to add another layer of consciousness to this physical present body, because it's the present, it's the now that is important. But we all have this layering of multidimensional aspects of ourselves, not anybody else, our own selves, that if we bring them in, then it makes us much more self-aware, awake, confident and powerful.
And is that what the regression does?
It's the whole, it's not just the regression, that's just where we start, but then when everybody is speaking out loud at the same time, well, one after the other, we co-create this experience together as if we were on Sirius or the Pleiades. When we listen to ourselves speaking from our own consciousness from another star, it's amazingly empowering, because you realize I am not this little limited brain and this little body. I am this incredible multidimensional mega being, and I can do all this stuff. So I find after people take the class, their whole lives shift, because they change their frequency and their life realigns itself to reflect that. Instead of reflecting their programming about their smallness and their self-negation, they are now changing their reality because they've changed their vibration. So I find pretty much everybody in my classes changes their jobs, where they're living, relationships. Doesn't mean to say they get rid of the relationship, but the dynamic where maybe was unequal in power, the dynamic shifts. So it's very empowering. Like they take charge of their lives and start to change them.
Thank you. And what is channeling to you?
Well, we can't see them, but there are so many beings that are filling all of the dimensions. And so each one of us is attuned to specific frequencies, and these beings are attuned to specific frequencies. And so they align with vehicles, vessels that have a sympathetic harmony with them. And then we simply offer our voice as the vehicle for them to speak to the humans to humans.
Do you think there's different forms of channeling?
There are different forms of it, and also the channeling is always coloured to some extent by the individual channel. I don't know if anybody is completely neutral. We all have our predispositions in terms of our characteristics, our personalities. So you can hear 3 different people channeling Mother Mary, and there's definitely a different feel to each one depending on the nature of the channel.
Absolutely, thank you.
So you do always have to be careful, because you know, some people say they are channeling, and I personally have encountered several people who are using the vehicle of channeling to control people and make them follow them. So when I'm doing channeling or teaching of any kind, I always say, I offer you this, but don't believe anything I say because I'm saying it, even if it's coming out of my mouth and I'm saying it's from Jesus. If you don't resonate with it, if your heart doesn't resonate with it, then throw it out. Just only receive what feels good to you and makes you feel uplifted. Because all of the channeling that I do, whether it's from the Great White Brotherhood or the angels, they're all saying, you people are amazing. You have got the hardest job in all the multiverses. You've chosen to walk in a physical body in this crazy three-dimensional world that has pain, suffering, grief, loss, anger, conflict. We think you're absolutely wonderful. So all of the messages that I receive are uplifting and supportive. And I've come across several people, and I've actually heard this twice from two different people, literally word for word. Only one person in this room is going to ascend, and I know who that is, and I'm not going to tell you. So everybody goes, oh my God, is it me? Is it me? I'm so bad. Well, none of the beings that I channel would dream of saying anything like that. So be very careful, and if it doesn't feel good, throw it out. There is so much help out there for all of us. So don't feel that you are so unimportant, that these beings that are all really big and really busy. This is what people say when I channel maybe Archangel Michael, and he says, I'm here to help you. And people think they're really big angels and they're really busy and I shouldn't bother them. They don't think that at all. They are here to be of service to us because we are in service to the whole of creation. The Earth is one of the lowest vibrational energies of any planet. We're kind of the bottom of the barrel, holding them down, holding them back. So as we raise our vibration, everybody gets to move up one. So that's why there's so many people helping us. And also I do want to say that anybody can channel and anybody can heal. And just find the whatever way works for you. That don't think of it as something that these incredibly gifted people can do, because this is something that anybody could do. So just try, just go and try. Greetings, brothers and sisters. I call you this because this is who you are. Many are known to me. Many of you here on the earth have trained with me, Lord Melchizedek. You are the sons and the daughters of the light. You have trained for eons of time in the great temples of many star systems and many dimensions. So believe me when I say to you that you are well prepared for the mission that you have chosen to undertake upon the earth at this time. Deep within your consciousness is the absolute knowledge that you as a being are indestructible, eternal, That which you term the body is the least part of who you are. That which you term your consciousness is most of what you are. Through eons of time, you have learned to shift your frequency, to travel between dimensions, to travel the worlds, the universes. This is simple for you. So when you come here to this earth plane and you experience this very limited self, and you forget the truth of who you are, then your focus becomes very small. And you believe that which you see around you to be real. But in the essence of your being, you are very well aware that what appears to be physical is most transitory, is illusionary. And you are the ones who have created it. And you are the ones who can create whatever reality you choose. So there are two things that are happening on the earth right now. There is an ascending spiral that is lifting the earth back into the light. It is an ascension spiral. It is taking dense matter and reminding it that it is light. And then there is a descending spiral of all of the old structures, the old paradigm, the misuse of power over, of using control to victimize people. This has been the way that you have structured your world up until this time, but this is the descending spiral. So it is disappearing into itself because it has nowhere to go. On the other hand is the ascending spiral, which is going up and up and out and out. So it is for each one of you, magnificent, powerful beings, to make the choice. Which of these spirals do I choose to feed with my magnificent light? Do I choose to dream in the new earth, the return to peace, love, and harmony? Do I choose to participate in the descending spiral, which is about to implode within itself? So by feeding that spiral, by adding your power to it, by making it your reality, you are actually making it stronger. If you withdraw your energy from that whole scenario, seeing it as the energy that is leaving this earth, there is no question of that. That energy is no longer to be supported on the earth plane, because Gaia herself has said that she is ascending to the 5th dimension. She has already made that shift. On December 21st, 2012, that was the shift. The only question is how many of us are ascending with her. And the way is open to all. There is help for all, but you are the one who makes the choice. So if you feel, if it is your will, then simply ask to be helped to feed your energy into that ascending spiral that is lifting the earth home back to the light. And you do not walk this journey alone. There is a myriad of beings in all of the multiverses who are focusing their attention upon the earth at this time, because this was an experiment of how to take low dimensional frequency energy of the third dimension and raise it up to the fifth dimension, still in a physical form. And this is the difference between what is happening on the earth now and what has happened in the past and what has happened on other planets. Normally, when a being chose to make that shift from the third to the fifth dimension, they would leave the body, they would drop the vehicle, they would return to the higher realms as soul, and then return at the higher frequency in a different vehicle. So what is so extraordinary on this earth, and why we all came here, was that we are going to make this frequency shift in the physical body with what you call the ascension. It is what the Christ demonstrated in the resurrection. But the important thing to remember is that we are not going anywhere. We are not leaving the planet. We're not all going to be taken off in spaceships and taken back to Alpha Centauri. We are bringing all of the essence of who we are here to the earth plane, to the physical body. And this has meant a radical shift for many of you, because these bodies that you are in are holding so many memories of the trauma that has happened to you from so many of your earth walks. Here you have been put to death in many violent ways, and all of those memories are in the body. So over the last 30 years, since the 1980s especially, there has been an acceleration of the frequency of the earth, so that on the one hand it is much easier now for you to connect to the higher dimensions. The veils are very thin. It is very easy to communicate, to receive information, to channel, to feel connected to the higher realms and all of the beings in there. But with each frequency shift, as the energy rises, then those programs that are sitting within you, that were created in terms of fear, of pain, of violence, those emotions are vibrating at a much lower frequency. So as the earth rises, then those lower vibrations are getting activated so that they can be released. Because as we move closer and closer to the point of the shift, where great mass of humanity will shift at one time into their ascended selves, those old memories of pain, suffering, separation, grief, loss, anger, resentment, they cannot go through that portal. So what is happening now is that you each have chosen situations, people, conflict, confrontation to come into your life to show you, this is where my wounding is. this is what I need to work on. This is what I need to let go of. So nobody comes into your life to victimize you. You invited the teachers to come in to hold a mirror for where your wounding is. So it may come in the form of a partner, a parent, somebody you work with, somebody you thought was your friend who seems to be turning on you or acting in a very hostile way towards you. But that is only giving you the opportunity to show you where your triggers are. So instead of just getting angry with them and why you're being such a mean person to me, simply go within and say, well, what is this showing me about myself? What is it that is reacting in me so extremely? Why is it so strong? Why does it feel so powerful and even life-threatening? Because there is a part of me that feels unworthy, that is afraid, that feels I will be overwhelmed, taken over, manipulated, lose control. So everything is coming back to wholeness. And each one of you has chosen your own path, the obstacles, the challenges that you wish to overcome in order to bring yourself home. On the same level, not as individuals, but as whole nations, whole races, each of those groups has also chosen to create situations of conflict, of opposition, separation, as an opportunity to overcome old prejudices, old beliefs that were created maybe 5,000-6,000 years ago, when the Christians did this to the Muslims, or the black people did this to the white people. And then this becomes the belief system for a whole group of people. And now we are really being challenged to say, well, is this true? Is this who I am? Am I my religion? Am I my culture? Am I the social group in which I was raised? We are all being given the opportunity, often by an adversary, to say, no, we are one family here. This is my brother. This is my sister. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter which God you pray to. We are all one. So everything that happens to you is something that you created, you called in, you invited in to have an experience that will show you either where your wounding is or where your joy is. You are meant to be moving into joy. If you haven't got this yet, this is your purpose on the earth right now. What brings me joy? What raises my vibration? What makes my heart sing? And then do more of that. So all of these people that you have invited in to be your mirrors, don't blame them, don't judge them. Just look at, what might this person be teaching me? Why am I reacting so strongly? And then say thank you and bless you and I love you and we are one. So even though as you look around the world today, it seems pretty hopeless. It seems that there is violence and hatred and chaos, and everything is just about to fall apart. Falling apart is what needs to happen, because out of the ashes rises the phoenix. And this just does not have to happen in a violent, drastic sense. It can be more a sense of a gradual awakening out of a long sleep, a coming to realize that everything is one, and I am one, and you are one, and we are one. And this is all there is. So do not be discouraged or downhearted, because within you, you have all that you need to play the role that you have chosen for this lifetime, to participate in the great awakening that is happening all over the earth right now. People are doing wonderful, kind things. All of these new children that have come in, they are fully awakened, self-realized beings who have come here to teach their parents and their grandparents. So everything that was needed for the plan has been put into the plan. And that includes you. You have trained for millions of, we would not say years because we do not have time, but you have trained for eons of time, let us put it that way, to do exactly what you are doing here on the earth right now. So be still. Know that you are love, you are loved, all is well, we are one. So I leave you now with the love and the blessing of the One. Go in peace. Go with God. Blessed be. As we have spoken, so it is.